Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy, January 9th, 2025 meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors at 6 p.m. We're at the Saddleback Valley location. Our teleconference location is at Oxford Preparatory Academy, South OC. We will have 6 p.m. closed session and 7 p.m. open session. Public comment opportunities. Members of the public may make comments at regular meetings of the board of directors regarding closed session items, agendized items, and non-agendized items. Comments may be made in person or via Zoom teleconference. Please turn in your comment card to the board secretary, Michael DeLune. Requests for comments may also be submitted via electronic submission or email. Submissions must be received prior to the start of the applicable community input time. Members of the public wish to email comments to be read during the meeting. Please email them to publiccomments@opaschools.org by 6 p.m. on January 9th, 2025. Public comments, including email comments, should be limited to 3 minutes per comment with up to 20 minutes of public comment per topic on the agenda. Reasonable accommodations with at least 48 hours notice. Any individual with a disability who requests reasonable accommodations to participate in the board of directors meeting may request assistance by contacting public comments at opaschools.org or 949-600-9050. The video and audio recordings of the meetings will be posted on the OPA website approximately 24 to 48 hours after the meeting. The public may attend the board meeting in person or via Zoom webinar. Meeting ID 320-324-6235. I am calling the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. We will start with a roll call vote. Member Travis is here. Member Smith will be participating via teleconference and I'm supposed to say that Amy is participating in the meeting pursuant to the Just Cause teleconferencing procedures in the Brown Act. So Member Smith, can I do your roll call?
I'm present, and I think I will have to say every time that no one is in the room with me at this time.
Perfect, thank you. Member DeLune?
Here.
Okay, and Member Freiler?
Present.
All right, wonderful. B, approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on January 9th, 2025. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on January 9th, 2025. May I please have a motion? May I please have a second? All right. Thank you. Roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
Aye, and no one in the room is in the room with me.
Thank you. Member DeLune?
Aye.
And Member Freiler?
Aye.
Wonderful. Thank you. Item 2, community input on closed session agendized items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed session agenda only. A speaker may not relinquish your time to another person. Board Secretary, are there any comments regarding the items listed under closed session?
Received none.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, we will have our closed session agenda for possible discussion and action. The following items will be discussed during the closed session. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation 54957.9, significant exposure to litigation pursuant of subdivision B of section 5495691 case. B, conference with real property negotiators, government code 54956.8, public employee appointment dismissal, discipline dismissal release 54957, and D, public employee performance evaluation executive director 54957, title executive director. With that, we will move to closed session at 6:06 p.m. Thank you. Good evening and welcome back to the Oxford Preparatory Academy regular meeting on January 9th, 2025. We are reconvening to open session at 7:16 p.m. There was no action taken in closed session that needs to be reported out. I would like to start by giving a special welcome to Maureen Cox, our special guest from the Orange County Department of Ed. Thank you for coming tonight. And with that, we will start with a flag salute. Would you want to lead us?
Sure.
Okay, that's it. Okay, ready? Begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful. So items for presentation and discussion, we have the ACRC or SARC approval, and Dr. Frichter will be giving it to us.
Good evening, members of the board and the OPA community. This evening, we will be reporting on our SARC presentation, which is the School Accountability Report Cards. It's an annual report card that we submit every single year. It shares performance information, data with the public. It allows the public comparison between student achievement, our environment, cultural resources, and demographics. It must be updated annually, and it is published on February 1st of every year. Most of the data is from the 23-24 school year, although some fiscal data and some staffing data reverts back to the 21-22 and the 22-23 school year. So data is pre-populated by the state into the SARC reports for us. So it's not data that we manipulate. And the district for SB and MS is OCDE, the special programs for and special programs, and for SOC is Capistrano Unified. The SARC reports contain, as I mentioned before, demographic data, school safety and climate that comes from surveys, academic data, school completion rates, class sizes, teacher and staff information, curriculum and instruction, and fiscal and expenditure data. Schools must populate approved SARCs or must post approved SARCs by February 1st. So it is important that it is on the January agenda for you to approve in an upcoming item. Schools must also notify families of the availability of the SARCs, and they're located on our website. We also distribute a link to the approved SARCs for the families, and schools must print the SARCs for families that request it. So we will abide by those who actually make requests to publish our SARCs. The SARC reports are kind of small and mighty, and there was one question about the enrollment data versus our CAS data, because some of the enrollment data and the CAS data do not align exactly. Enrollment data is populated from the P1 reporting in fall, but the CAS data is reported by the students who actually took the CAS in spring. So there could be a slight adjustment in students from the fall enrollment to the spring enrollment, and that accounts for the adjustment. Are there any other questions?
Just in terms of board approval, is that the legal requirement? It always strikes me as odd sometimes where you report with facts are facts. So there's a little judgment for us to decide. So it's the board and actual requirement.
No, we are required to have our safety plans, our SARC plans, and our LCAP plans all approved by the board. In your traditional districts, you would also have to have your single plan for student achievement approved by the board as well. We do not, because we are independent LEAs, and our LCAP supersedes the single plan. So you only have to do LCAP. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, well, you're up again for the 2025-2026 board meeting calendar. Dr. Fricker.
Okay, for the meeting, tentative meeting dates for the board for the this would be for the next fiscal year. We wanted to just get these out in front of you for you to take a bird's eye look at and make sure that there are no conflicts in the proposed board dates. There was one conflict that Dr. Kiramig pointed out, and that was for that April date that you see in red. And the board meeting where it would naturally sit on that third week of the month on Thursday would conflict with the middle school's open house. And so I did talk to Chancellor Burdette, and we would move our board meeting if that's permissible to the board, because that's their traditional time to have the open house. It would be odd for them to move their dates. So in those cases, just to avoid conflicts, we thought that we would just propose these dates right now. We have this month to review them. We would bring them back in February for a final vote for the board, just to solidify the dates. Again, we're going to have the chancellors and other staff members review the dates to make sure there are no conflicts. And that way, when the schools start to begin to plan their annual activities, and honor societies plan annual activities, they could adjust around these already established dates. So that's why you have them in front of you. There's no action on this. It's just a consideration, and then we'll bring it back in the February meeting.
Perfect. Any other questions? No? Okay. All right. Next, fiscal year 2023-2024 Oxford Preparatory Academy Auditor Financial Presentation.
Evening, board of directors. I'd like to introduce our auditor from Christy White, Washington.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Marcy Kearney. I'm a CPA and partner with Christy White. I have a brief presentation to go over with regards to the 23-24 audit report. I'll go ahead and share right now. Bear with me one moment as I kind of navigate my screens here. So I hope everyone can see my slides here. Starting out, just again to reiterate, it's covering the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. I know with with you being well ahead of it, you're full steam ahead in the 24-25 school year. So I just kind of want to bring it back and make sure you're aware this is for the 23-24 year, just because us auditors are always looking at historical information. So this is the front cover, just to note that the audit report does cover the nonprofit organization, Oxford Preparatory Academy, and then the nonprofit organization being that it operates the 3 public charter schools or 3 local education agencies, the South Orange County, Saddleback Valley, and then the new middle school, which this would be the first year of operation for the middle school. Pardon me as I kind of move my navigation. And just to go over the general kind of format of the audit report, there is the main financial statements that cover the statement of financial position, which is essentially your balance sheet, the statement of activities, which is your kind of income statement or profit and loss, if you use those terminologies, statement of functional expenses. This is specific to nonprofit organizations, and this would directly align with your Form 990 tax returns as well. Statement of cash flows, and then your notes to your financial statements are always a very important part of the financial statements themselves. Also unique is supplementary information, being that you are a nonprofit organization that operates multiple charter schools. Each charter school has to report their financial statements as well. And then being a nonprofit operates the charter schools, you have K-12 reporting requirements. So there is a schedule of ADA or average daily attendance, a schedule of instructional time, and then also a reconciliation to your unaudited actuals. So back in September 2024, you would have approved your unaudited actuals for each of the charter schools. And so if there were any differences or changes or maybe audit adjustments or closing entries, that would be shown on that reconciliation page. And also new in the sense of it's a different section of the audit report, other information. Previously, this was located under the supplementary information. But now it's just moved to essentially other information, so unaudited information, and that's the LA organizational structure. This gives you the list of the board members that were in place as of June 30th of 2024, and then also administrators. So with that, I just kind of want to highlight the basic responsibilities by each of the organization and also the auditor. I share this just because the financial statements themselves do belong to the organization. The only thing that we as an audit firm own are the audit opinions. So our main goal here is to provide you with an audit opinion and provide reasonable assurance. That's not absolute assurance. So we're not looking at 100% of the transactions. However, it is a high level of assurance that we are providing. And we're maintaining professional skepticism, meaning that we always have a questioning eye when we're looking at everything. It's kind of trust but verify is our approach. And then we communicate certain matters with the board, meaning this communication with providing you an overview of the audit report, and then also kind of looking at timing and the audit process itself. The organization's responsibility is preparing the financial statements, designing and maintaining effective internal controls, and then also making sure you're going to continue operations. So adequate budgeting and things like that with looking at forecasts going forward. So with that, I want to highlight the audit opinions themselves, being that those are the main things within the audit report that our audit firm is responsible for. So there are 3 audit opinions. Page 1 is going to have the main audit opinion on the financial statements. In this case, with Oxford Preparatory Academy, good, clean audit opinion, best opinion possible, which we consider an unmodified opinion. There were financial statements were in accordance with the government with generally accepted accounting principles, and no issues or misstatements in that sense. Another audit opinion, there are 2 more. The 2 of the 3 audit opinions are found at the very end of the audit report itself. The other independent auditor opinions section, and one is regarding government auditing standards, being that you are a nonprofit organization that is mandated by the government agency to go through an annual audit, and also that because you are dealing with kind of quasi-government rules with regards to ed code and receiving government funding, we go through what we call a yellow book audit. So we look at internal control processes as they may play into in financial statement reporting, but we don't place an opinion over internal controls. So I just want to emphasize that. If there were any significant issues or deficiencies noted, we would make mention in this audit opinion letter. Again, no issues of non-compliance or no issues of any internal control weaknesses with regards to financial statement reporting or any compliance matters. So a good, clean audit opinion for that one. And then the last audit opinion of the 3 is specific to K-12 agencies. So every K-12 agency, whether it's a school district, charter school, or a county office of education, has to go through a K-12 state compliance audit. Every year, the State Education Audit Appeals Panel publishes a K-12 audit guide, lets us auditors know what procedures and what programs to emphasize and what steps to take. So you can see here from this chart, it's located on page 27 of the audit report. With each charter school, there's different steps to take. So for example, transitional kindergarten is only applicable to those charter schools that operate TK or report TK ADA, whereas the middle school did not, so that wouldn't be applicable. A new program, 2 new programs that were in 23-24 school year with were the Proposition 28 Arts and Music in Schools program, which is a new funding source, and then also the Expanded Learning Opportunities grant, or excuse me, Expanded Learning Opportunities program, not to be confused with the Expanded Learning Opportunities grant. There was ELOG in prior years, but ELOP, a newly audited program. So it was a funded program, I believe beginning in 2021, but 23-24 was the first year was subject to audit. Page 29 has a good summary of the audit opinion letters. So you can see here, again, no audit findings noted, a good, clean audit opinions across the board. And then that'll take me just to some key points. We provide a board communication letter that highlights these items, but essentially we just make mention that accounting estimates are always necessary in some instances. The main estimate we see is with regards to useful life of depreciable assets, some sensitive disclosures that might impact the financial statements. We just highlighted the ERC note, being that that is a receivable that still hasn't been or was not collected as of June 30th of 2024. With regards to any audit adjustments, we'd make mention if there were any material audit adjustments noted. In this case, there were not. Any difficulties or disagreements with management, in this case, there were not. any other matters or audit findings. No audit findings, but we did highlight kind of a need for an interagency reimbursement with regards to funding being spent by one charter school that was allocated to a different charter school. And then overall, we get management representation. So management taking responsibility over the financial statements and different disclosure information. So we do that in the form of a management representation letter that we've been provided with. And then overall, I know this is kind of seems like working backwards, but it's also working forwards just because the audit process is so cyclical. So just general process and overview of the audit process and the timing. So for our interim audit, which is to say that we break the audit into two different phases, an interim phase that occurs in the spring and summer. We look at financial statement processes. So we're looking at payroll transactions. We're looking at money coming in as far as deposits and money going out and how payments are made. And then it's really heavy on the K-12 compliance items as well, because we're trying to do as much as compliance testing as we can during the actual school year. But we're also, the timing wise, we wait until after the P2 reporting. And I say P2 meaning period 2 attendance, just because that's your main ADA or average daily attendance report that will be your main funding driver. And what your LCFF funding or revenue is based off of. And then the year-end audit phase after the books are closed in the fall, we'll focus mainly on the financial statements themselves and substantiating some of the account balances. And that's all due to the state agencies and your authorizer by the December 15th deadline. And then also within our engagement letter for services, we provide services for tax preparation of the Form 990 and the 199. So your IRS and Franchise Tax Board reports as a nonprofit organization. Because the initial deadline is November 15th, we always put in for a tax extension to ensure that we have final audited figures to go off of. So that has been extended, and that extended due date is May 15th of 2025 currently. And again, this process will start again over for the next 24-25 school year. So come spring, summer, we'll get geared up and start the next audit process. And just to kind of, I'll say that it does cover a lot and throughout the school year. So I just want to say a big thank you to the staff, not just business staff, because it is, yes, heavy on the business staff side of it, but also with compliance, we're looking at attendance and student records. So thank you so much to the school site personnel as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and end my presentation, see if there's any questions.
Any questions? Yes.
Soon as I swallow my fatality. So thank you. So anytime I look at these audit reports in general, the first thing I look for is the unqualified opinion. So I'm really happy that we got a clean one with no material weakness, no significant deficiency. That's great. Also look for material adjustments or adjustments overall, and we didn't really have anything other than the minor item, and that wasn't even required or at the request of the auditors. Also look at independence. So for how long has Christy White been or at an accounting firm, and how does the selection process go about?
Yeah, I want to say that the nonprofit OPA went through an RFP process last year, if I recall. We've worked with Oxford Preparatory Academy. Our audit firm has worked with Oxford Preparatory Academy since, for quite a while now. I believe for some reason, I want to say 2014, 15, but don't quote me on that. But there is an ed code requirement with regards to K-12 audits being performed, that there needs to be a partner rotation. So within that time frame, we've adhered to that partner rotation requirement. And so Christy White herself was the signing CPA on the engagements in previous years. And then I myself now have been the partner on the engagement going forward. So as far as kind of independence comes into play, that's the main the main thing there is just making sure that we're adhering to the partner rotation requirements. And then obviously we don't have any business ties or personal relationships with any of your staff or any personnel working with OPA. We do annual independent certifications to make sure that we don't have any staffing issues as well, you know, with any of the staff that work with the organization or on the audit directly.
You know, my comment to the school administration and Marcy, I don't mean to make this kind of an uncomfortable discussion or anything like that, but sometimes I've found it to also be good governance, change audit firms from time to time. And it sounds like there is a robust RFP process, so that's really good also. But you know, sometimes maybe the audit partner is the same, but the actual auditors might end up being not the same. They rely on the old work papers and so on and so forth. And I know there's a lot of counters that Marcy, I'm sure, is about to say to what I just said, but you know, sometimes getting a new firm in place also allows for kind of a fresh look at or kind of controls and you know, they might look at, they may test things a little differently. So just kind of something to throw out there as a future consideration.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and as we pick up new clients here and there, so that is one of the things I definitely recommend. You know, you do want a good and fresh set of eyes. And yes, we are, you know, a CPA firm, and we're adhering to the independence piece of it all. But it's probably good to have an internal process to go out, not just for, you know, making sure you're getting the best pricing, but also making sure you're getting a fresh set of eyes and maybe a different perspective. And so I definitely agree with that. And like I mentioned, I believe last year there was a formal RFP process that was in place with regards to independent auditor contract. And I want to say that our current contract was just a 1 year, being that knowing that the board was probably going to, you guys were going to opt to go out for another bid cycle and do your due diligence on that.
Do we know when that bid cycle is going to be?
I know you're required, well, excuse me, school districts are required to select an auditor before April 1st of every year. Usually your authorizer will require that same deadline be upheld. So for this 24-25 year, you would want to hold a contract with an independent audit firm before April 1st.
Sometimes it's even easier to change on the back end of a clean opinion, because otherwise, if you end up with material weaknesses and change firms, those are terrible. Last question, I promise. Who are the signers of your management rep letters?
I believe Michael was the main signer in this last audit cycle as the CPO.
So are you directing staff to make sure we go out to bid this year?
I'm just kind of throwing that out there for consideration. I'm not giving any kind of firm direction.
But you guys can kind of come back to us and let us know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's a terrible idea. That's okay. Just, yeah. Sure.
All right. Betsy? Member Smith, do you have any questions? No? Okay. No. Okay. Thank you, Marcy. Really appreciate your thorough audit that you provided to us. All right, moving on. Community input. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the agenda and non-agendized items. A speaker may not relinquish their time to another person. Are there any comments on agenda or non-agendized items?
I've received none.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next, items for action, new board member selection. OPA has standardized the process for selecting a new board member in the event of a vacancy. The board member selection timeline included a request for application, a screening process, and interview session to ensure due diligence in selecting a new board member. Per OPA, Oxford Preparatory Academy 10th Amendment bylaws, each OPA director serves a term of 2 years. However, at our last meeting, we actually discussed that we would be extending this term to 2.5. Similar to what we did with renewing member Smith. So do we have a motion for a member from which we interviewed last time?
I make a motion to approve Dr. Samir Shah to be a member of the board of directors through June 30th, 2027.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, is there any additional discussion that we would like to have as a board?
And I would just, sorry, I'm ill, so apologize for my voice. I just want to again express thanks to all those who demonstrated interest and went through the process with us. And also wanted to ask Dr. Fricker if you'd explain again, even though we went through it in the last board meeting, about the time frame of the new member coming on.
So last time we had in the December meeting, we had an item on the agenda to explain, a presentation to explain that 2 members out of the 5 board members had gone off cycle, where their term ending dates were in January rather than June 30th. And so discussion was had with the board members to decide if we should re-term them out at the same time frame. And in doing that, that means that the members that were selected in December and now in January would be terming out back to June 30th, 2027, which is where they should normally have been. But due to a hiccup in prior years, they got off cycle. So we are doing this motion. We checked with legal to amend their term endings to align again.
Thank you.
And I'd like to echo Member Smith's comments. It was great to hear so many people interested in joining the board and being involved in OPA. It's so great that we have that community that loves to be involved here. So, any other discussions? Okay, hearing none. Let's move to a roll call vote. Member Travis, I'm aye. Member Smith?
I am I, and I'm disclosing that there is no one in the room with me at this time.
Thank you, Member Smith. Member DeLune?
Aye.
And Member Freiler?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Well, welcome to the board. We'll see you at the next meeting. All right, moving on to item B. The fiscal year 2023-2024 Oxford Preparatory Academy audit report. Miss Marcy Kernan, audit partner at Christie White, will be in attendance to summarize the results of the 2023-2024 annual fiscal audit of Oxford Preparatory Academy, South Orange County, charter number 1324, Oxford Preparatory Academy, Saddleback Valley, charter number 1784, and Oxford Preparatory Academy Middle School, charter 2135. It is recommended that the Board of Directors approve action item B. May I please have a motion?
I make a motion.
And I will second. Thank you again for all your work on that, Marcy. Really appreciate it. Any other discussion? No? Okay. Roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
Aye, and there's no one in the room with me at this time.
Okay, thank you. Member DeLune?
Aye.
And Member Freiler?
Aye.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Action item C, interagency expenditure correction resolution. It is recommended by the Oxford Preparatory Academy External Auditor Christy Wright, and interagency reimbursement must be recorded to correct expanded learning opportunity expenditures for Oxford Preparatory Academy, South Orange County to Oxford Preparatory Academy Middle School. And am I supposed to read this now? Okay, so the resolution is number 2025-01, whereas Oxford Preparatory Academy sought and received a charter for its new middle school, Oxford Preparatory Academy OPA Middle School, which is opened at the beginning of 23-24 school year. And whereas OPA Middle School is not eligible to receive Expanded Learning Opportunity Program ELOP funds in 2023-2024, and whereas OPA Middle School ELOP expenditures occurred in 2023-2024. And whereas OPA Middle School ELOP expenditures were non-compliant to the funding guidelines. And whereas OPA Middle School ELOP expenditures were incorrectly reported to OPA South Orange County. And whereas under the guidance of the OPA external auditors, and interagency reimbursement is required to properly account for the ELOP expenditures. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the amount of $11,529 be transferred from OPA Middle School to OPA South Orange County to remedy ineligible ELOP expenditures in 2023-2024 at OPA Middle School is hereby approved by the board once we make a roll call motion. May I please have a motion for this? Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay. And do we have discussion around this? Anyone? I am very happy that we are addressing the situation to make sure we're in compliance. Anything else that needs to be said?
I have a question for Dr. Fricker. What is being done to update our processes and potentially provide professional development to support staff at all levels when planning and spending funding to ensure we don't have this type of situation occur again?
So a memo will come out tomorrow to all staff, just identifying federal and state funding and with in particular restricted funding to make sure that staff know who they can contact should there be questions on any expenditures that would be attributed to that type of funding. And that would be Mr. Lau, our Chief Business Officer. And then in the spring, we will be having a budget review session with our chancellors to make sure that they understand the funding that is attributed to all 3 of the school sites, which are LEAs. And if there is any question or debate on how or where we can spend funds, then those will be attributed to either myself or Mr. Lau, but or more specific to Mr. Lau. And then we will check with our auditors. We have frequently gone back and forth with our auditors in any time we have questions about what's an allowable expenditure or what is not. And our auditor has been very responsive in terms of getting back to us with really swift answers, whether we can or cannot spend in certain areas, funding in certain areas. So we will continue to outline professional development, probably as we develop things for the week of welcome to prevent anything like this from happening. And then if there is a transition of staff, we will make sure that we orient and onboard that new staff as well.
Thank you. I just felt compelled to say, you know, appropriate use of funds is of the utmost importance to the board. And so I appreciate anything that is being done to again, shore up our processes, help make sure everyone is educated about the appropriate use of funds, and then just, you know, continue in the successful operations of the organization. So thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to a roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
Aye, and there is no one in the room with me at this time.
Okay. Member DeLune?
Aye.
And Member Freiler?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Action item D, approve the 2023-2024 school accountability report cards. In November 1988, state law was put into place as a result of the passage of Proposition 98, requiring all public schools receiving state funding to prepare and distribute the did you say SAR? SARC. Okay, SARC each year. The purpose of their report card is to provide parents and community with the important information about each school. And it's for Oxford Preparatory Academy, Saddleback Valley, Oxford Preparatory Academy, South Orange County, and Oxford Preparatory Academy Middle School. It is recommended that the board of directors approve action item D 1 through 3. May I have a motion? Thank you, Member Freiler. And I will second it. All right, discussion? I appreciate the presentation. Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to a roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
Aye, and there's no one in the room with me at this time.
Member DeLune?
Aye.
And Member Freiler?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Items for consent. Items listed under consent are voted on by the board in one motion. There's no discussion of these items prior to the vote unless a member of a board or staff requests specific items to be pulled from consent. Before making a motion, would any member like to pull an item from the consent calendar or consent agenda? No? Okay. All right. Then hearing none, it is recommended. The executive director recommends approval of all the consent item. Following the board, each item shall be deemed and considered fully adopted and recommended. With that being said, we will be making a motion to approve consent items A1 and B1. May I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay. All right, roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
And there's no one in the room with me at this time.
All right, Member DeLune?
Aye.
Okay, and Member Fryler?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you. Next, moving on to Executive Director Report.
Thank you. So we are happy to announce that we're moving into the lottery phase of the school year. And information communications will be coming out to all of our families and our community, just outlining the upcoming 25-26 lottery, what the dates are, when open enrollment is, and then how to proceed through the application process. So this is an exciting time for us. As you know, in past presentations, we have moved that up significantly in order to align with other charter schools and organizations. So we're hoping that that will be beneficial to our families. And then upcoming on the next meeting, February, we are going to have what we call a state of OPA. And that is just taking all of the major divisions departments of OPA and the organization, as well as the school sites, and then presenting on what are those current things that we're working on, what are we working on for next year, because we already have to think about that. And then what are those highlights from the current year that we want to celebrate thus far in the year. We will be going through like annual cycles of things, especially the fiscal cycle. I know that that's top of mind of everybody. Now that we've had the first interim in December, we are looking for the governor's revised or the governor's budget, which will come out here in January. And then we will go into the second interim report that will solidify our base budget. And then any other expenditures from the needs assessment or from school sites, things that they're wanting to do for next year, the board will then be able to consider in the February, March, April timeframe. So that would affect all like facilities, staffing, and any operation or material expenditures that we would want to pursue. So that will all be coming up in the state of OPA in February.
All right, thank you, Dr. Flicker. Moving on, Board of Directors reports. Let's start with Member DeLune.
Nothing to report. I'll let you talk about that governance.
Oh, yes, we need to reschedule our meeting. All right.
I want to thank Michael for moving and working on the finance committee stuff because we moved it forward this meeting. So I appreciate you and Rosa taking the time to make that ready. And I'd like to welcome July had our first finance committee
Yes.
meeting. Very
Fun.
exciting.
Mhm.
And then I'd like to welcome the new dean at SOC. So we're looking forward to having her start Monday.
Wonderful. Member Smith.
I yield my time. Thank you.
I would just like to say that we're excited to welcome our new members to the OPA community and get school started again on Monday. So I know the kids are ready to come back. So thank you all for all the hard work you're doing at OPA. With that being said, we will recess back into closed session at 7:54. All right, meeting was reconvened to open session at 9:04 PM. There was no action taken in closed section. Next adjournment. Meeting, it is recommended that the Board of Directors adjourn the regular meeting of Oxford Preparatory Academy Board of Directors on January 9th, 2025. Will you please have a motion? Right, and a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Member Travis is aye. Member Smith?
Hi, and there's no one in the room with me at this time.
All right, thank you. Member DeLune?
Aye.
All right, and Member Freiler?
Aye.
All right, thank you. The meeting is officially adjourned at 9:05 PM.